Hi, and welcome back to Tower of Fantasy. Today we are jumping into 1.5, talking about everything new that's added. I'm linking to things in the description, to routes in which you're going to need to farm materials, because oh my god, is the housing brilliant, but at least right now we don't have access to customizing it. It's way more a manufacture plant for resources that you can later funnel into a shop that can then buy you a lot of good gear, with the biggest the biggest gain being legendary matrices that you're actually able to craft with the resources that you're able to level up each structure with, which is what probably happens when you cap out your stuff. You're basically going to spend those resources into re-rolling matrices, and that is going to be a chunk of the end game, and will get you a huge bunch of CS, aka powers. So you definitely want to know how to do that, as well as we're going to be going over the events, just everything that we need to know. So first things first, how do you get access to the artificial island, aka your acreage, aka your housing system, and a big source of power? I do believe, well, there's going to be things on screen right now that tell you the requirements and what you need to achieve in order to get access to this place. I believe it's like level 50 or 60 or something like that, or have just gotten to a certain point in the story, which is indicative of you getting to 60 or something. I have not done any of the story at all besides the first type of two missions until we lost our friendo. I am level 60 though, so I was able to just jump right here. This is where we start the game, right over here, and then you're just going to go to this place right here, Bangies, and you're just going to walk up to this aircraft, and it's literally just going to take you right here, and then be sure to touch this point as soon as you step off the plane right there, so now that you have a spawn point. So now, from now on, how you would get access to this place is by going to the bottom left corner here, clicking that, and then going to your artificial island, and then just spawning in. Now, when you arrive, you will not see damn near anything. You'll be like, where the hell is my house and why can't I get cooking? Well, basically, there's two parts of artificial island. There is your custom acreage, and then the overworld, because this is kind of an MMO. So, the overworld basically has a chest, teleportation points, also... Oh, I have to scale this whole place again, do I? Great. Oh, okay. Anyways, pain. This is the overworld. This is where the new bosses. They're amazing. They can drop all kinds of matrices, including this one, which is probably the best. It has incredible drop rates, and it drops Samir's one, which is great, super good. But I digress. This is just something you can explore, do some side quests, get after it. But how do you get access to the thing that's paramount that you use and do as quick as possible, which is your, of course, acreage? You're just gonna go to build. As soon as you're in the artificial island, you hit build. It'll tell you a bunch of things. You say go, and you'll just put you right into that thing. And honestly, you can make a ton of ground in this in day one. I believe I was playing for maybe an hour and a half, and I was able to basically unlock tier 3 of most of these things. I'll explain how it works. Quick as a whip. Essentially, you arrive here. This is your upgrade station, and this will basically be the cap for how everything else can be leveled up. So if this is level 2, then everything else can only be leveled up to level 2. So this is kind of the benchmark, and this thing sucks in resources. A lot of resources for that matter. So yes, you guys can see upgrade. It takes a lot. But you're going to need to keep leveling up if you want to keep production on leveling everything else up. Now, it does make sense to level up everything collectively, because you're going to need everything from every kind of other thing, as confusing as that is. Yeah, it's as simple as just go near the entry of that thing, hit F to upgrade, you can pick up your resources, and then hit F again, and then you'll be able to upgrade it. I have this thing at level 4 right now, and you guys can see it's starting to get a little costly to, of course, level these up, but the more you level this up, the more currency it is going to yield every single hour, so it's worth, of course, grinding those out. But that is not necessarily where you're going to find a huge source of your materials. And by the way, everything produces something special in terms of building. So one is like, paints and like special resources like that. Other is rock and steel. Other is like water or whatever, biomass. So yeah, all those pretty self-explanatory. Level everything up here, here, here. Also, you got like a cute alive type of acreage if you don't do that. Otherwise, it will look dead and barren. I digress. How do you go about getting enough materials to do that? Because sure as shit, your game is not going to give you that just by default. Well, on screen currently, you're seeing something that is on the wiki. I will also link this in the description down below. It has a lot of helpful things, but basically, the basis is when you are in your version of the artificial island, the one that you can customize, running around the overworld and killing anything will drop materials. So killing enemies drops materials, killing bears, boars, enemies, going to camps and grinding all them out, killing the world bosses, which actually take a longer time to respawn. I think most of the enemies are on probably a 24-hour cycle, but then the big bosses are probably on either a weekly cycle or 2 or 3 day cycle. regardless, you make sure you do that as soon as you get your foot in the door when it comes to Artificial Island. Kill everything you can in the map. It took me maybe an hour just to do the route that is on screen right now, where you hook around here and kill everything. Although I will say you should probably scan around nevertheless, because I was close to basically not having enough to level up all of my stuff to tier 4 and then 3, with this thing being all the way up to level 4 and everything else being of course around level 3. And then eventually, after we do this a couple days and after we're done like having a wellspring of resources, then we'll have access to 2 things. One is the exchange store, where you can sell various materials that we're going to be hunting and grinding for anyway, for various incredibly good parts. Things that are limited weekly, meaning you're going to be able to get 5 of these. You're going to have 2 sets of 5 of these per week. But it's kind of a question of like, do you save your resources so you can generate more quicker and get to the cap quicker? Or do you spend it on the things that are like super special and limited per week? I don't know, man. It's a tough call. Anyways, but there's so much value here. As much as I would have also liked to see things like, hey, your manufacturer actually gives you rock upgrades for your weapons and stuff, and here's some weapon materials every couple weeks, just by us grinding and farming. Instead, it looks like it's generating all kinds of currency in which you're going to have to log in every week to, of course, buy. So, of course, it's gacha game, FOMO, gotta get in there, etc. But anyways, neat nevertheless. So this is incredibly valuable, but what is like the most insane, especially the person who's been struggling quite a bit in terms of getting SR and just getting matrices that aren't dog crash, this is incredible. This is where you can actually spend stuff on the currencies that you're gonna need a lot of, especially when we start pushing into levels. Already at level 60, it takes a boatload of materials to level up your weapon, experience, the whole shebang. So the fact that we can get access to this and a chance at some of these things is great. But if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, you guys can start seeing these start getting insane, dude. You can actually start getting, it's a chance between a crappy blue, a purple, meh, and of course a gold matrice. Now of course it's probably RNG's is on the low end when it comes to the gold tier matrice, but this is kind of fun. This is kind of a free, sedentary, random chance at another RNG wishing mechanic that can give you a stupid surge of power. Matrices are really, really good and incredibly good, and also I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we also have armor, like legendary armor pieces at some point, because that's also a huge part of the end game. It doesn't look like it actually yet, but if they ever were to add stuff to this, I think that would be a place that they might do it, is give you some crazy cracked out things. But anyways, the reason why this is so good also is because you can specialize into one specific armament. So for instance, one of the best matrices is Crows. It gives you just base crit when an enemy's above HP, and then gives you even more crit damage scaling off of your attack. It just sounds so good, and it can be slapped on just about any DPS type thing and surge your damage, it seems like. I'm dragging a little bit. Let's wrap this up, but first and foremost, with not just that, we got a housing area, a whole new area to explore, tons of resources and value coming in every week now, and a new world boss, which comes with cool matrices, and also better drop chances than ever before, and we have events. Also, we have Claudia, by the way. We have Claudia. She's here. She's lovely. She's going to be seeming like a great character. We also have our login things again. It's not as cracked as it was. It's 1, 2, and 3. Not bad, but we do have this kind of horrible event. I really don't like it. Basically, you'll have random waifu SSR characters come to your cafe, and you will have to feed them. But they do this crazy bullshit where they don't tell you what they want, nor do they streamline it to tell you where to go get it. So normally these things you'd be able to click these, and they would basically be like, oh, do you want to put down, a drink or a this or a that, and you would put down those, you would hit gift. I think it's governed on how you communicate with them. So if you tap on them, they'll say like, oh my god, I really smell almonds. I love almonds so much. And instead of them being like, hey, you want to do food stuff? Here's where almonds are on the map, or here's how you make this weird creation. Instead, it's like the most open, broad brush ever, that in order to do this, it's so much. Sorry, but it's so much. Like, oh, you're gonna have to figure out where turkeys spawn. Google that, I guess. You're gonna need to know where lettuce spawns. Google that, I guess. Mushrooms, Google that, and then you get this. all to make one dish. And I don't even know if that's the dish that they want. So it's like, what is this? All of the events were super streamlined. They felt satisfying to complete. This one just feels weird and very like, I guess? I guess? Anyways, the rewards are pretty great up into, I think, where it starts to dwindle just a touch. Yeah, it's right around the 1,000th mark is where you start getting the last chunk of value. Everything else past that is just kind of nice. But this is quite nice, and everything else in terms of your nucleus is around 800. Also, you're only allowed 3 customers a day. That's something that they do not tell you, which is unfortunate because I would have basically mined out them a little bit more. And yeah, a little shitty, honestly. But we have 13 days, so 13 times 75. I need to do a little bit better, but you know, we should be able to get to that 80% mark within just throwing food at their face, because I think I missed just about all of their desires, which is sad, but you know, how the hell can I extrapolate on almonds? I don't have any almonds on my inventory, and I didn't know how many attempts I had. Disgusting trash. How you get access to the boss is by scaling this thing, and at least in the overworld, in your artificial island without any sort of like elevators maybe, that thing is a pain in the ass to climb, and if I didn't have my grapple hook thing, I'm not sure if I would have been able to do it, because there's so many weird angles. Granted, all you need is a friend who does have the grapple hook, and then you can just spawn on him or ping to party leader and then get that checkpoint, and you'll be right as rain. But all in all, I am so excited. This is what I crave, the level up and every single day getting a little bit stronger. I love to pieces. I wanted to ask you guys this though. Does anybody know if there's going to be customization here, or is it purely just like, no, these are all like value generating machines that if you invest in over time, pay you in droves, but there's not a lot of customization because they chose to go the other route of like, you know, stat leveling instead of, you know, customization necessarily. Which I hope in the future they add some customization, because it'd be cool to have, you know, a house that's to your liking. You know, it'd be cool like if you could plant some of your characters around and they'd be just running around, your SSR characters of course. By the by, if you're interested in Claudia, we did make a video about her. It's more of a chiller video, sitting back talking about all of her skill kits, seeing what her potential might be, and we learned a lot of very interesting things. I liked the tone of that video, by the way. It's very calm. I enjoyed it. But last, ladies and gentlemen, thank you kindly for your time. Hopefully enjoy the rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and goodbye.